Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's e-commerce Creating the New World Order discussion live from Dubai. Thank you also to our prestigious guest speakers from different parts of the world. Really. Thank you also to audience members for tuning in for tonight's live session. We have deVere Forster, COO of Dubai CommerCity with us, as well as Kapoor, CEO and founder of the Luxury Closet, and last but not least, Ori Waterman, CEO by Shufersal. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hi, fantastic. I see that we're all nice and loud and clear. So we're going to get stuck in with our first general questions. And I would really much appreciate it if each and every one of you would answer it individually. We're going to start off with our first question being, the pandemic has played a critical role in the explosion of global e-commerce penetration rates. What effect has this had on each of your businesses? And can we please start with deVere?
Thank you, Mona. Hello, everyone, and a very good evening from Dubai. At Dubai CommerCity, which is the region's first and only dedicated free zone for e-commerce, of which I'm the Chief Operating Officer for, it's been built to provide an infrastructure for companies to be able to do e-commerce. Now, the pandemic has been further accelerated the need for retailers and brands that don't already have e-commerce capabilities to build and launch a digital platform, and for them to refocus and reprioritize what they need when they're doing what they're doing in the e-commerce space. Now, with this in mind and the rapid growth we're witnessing in e-commerce penetration, rather than simply providing offices and warehouses to facilitate clients' business setup needs, we've gone about developing an ecosystem that enables e-commerce. I actually like to call it e-com in a box. We not only get space and an office to set up your business, but also all the relevant support you need to take your business online. Other than complete business setup and custom support, we at Dubai CommerCity offer e-commerce strategy consulting, guidance on e-commerce regulations in the region, end-to-end logistics solutions inclusive of warehousing and last mile delivery, complete e-commerce platform solutions, digital marketing services, and other support services, including but not limited to photo studios, content translation, call centers, among others. So essentially, in summary, Dubai CommerCity offers a full turnkey one-stop shop for e-commerce solutions across support and across different support services and other services to enable brands and retailers to build and launch an online store in as short and optimal time as possible. Now, this is something that is now a priority due to the ongoing pandemic and the increasing growth of customers moving to purchasing online.
Thank you very much, deVere. Moving on to Ori, what are your thoughts on this first question, please?
Thanks, Mona. First, I must say that I'm very excited. You know, this is the first time that myself, and I don't think many Israelis participate in a retail summit in Dubai. And hopefully next year is going to be live on site and not online.
Absolutely.
And the company that I'm representing is Shufersal, who is the largest retailer in Israel. And basically, before the pandemic, it was best practice for the world, I believe, for e-commerce of food. More than 12% of the sales of Shufersal come from e-commerce before the pandemic. So we were quite ready. And then when everything happened and we had lockdowns in Israel and they closed the airport and much more people were in the houses and the restaurants were closed, the sales went up by 50%. And I'm talking about billions of dollars. This is not small business. And the thing that happened that because of the fact that strategically we were prepared and we had the infrastructure in order to deliver such an explosion of demand, we gave a very good service during the pandemic. And we saw that our competitors tried to get to our level, but it was too late. So everybody today has e-commerce of food, but we already went to up to 20%, and the other maybe also on the 10%. The company that I'm running inside Shufersal is a drugstore company. And actually, we went 3 times more during the last year with our e-commerce. But we didn't do only e-commerce, with the last mile couriers. We had all part of solutions like, pick up in the store and delivery with the taxi. And funny thing is that since I entered my job 3 years ago, I wanted to do a drive-through in the drugstore, like what they do in America in CVS. And my management team always kept telling me this is impossible, it's not going to make money. And then last March, we did such a thing within 10 days, and we're giving excellent service through a drive-through, and people are coming, they're texting their order, and then they will, the bag out to their car, and it's a great service. And this is one of the things that the good thing that happened to us during this time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ori. Much appreciated. And last but not least, now, Kapur, can you please go and then, of course, played a role in the explosion of global e-commerce and what effect it's had on your business?
Sure. So, well, let me cover the luxury sector and then resale, which is where we operate. So, first, quick introduction: the Luxury Closet is an online marketplace for buyers and sellers to sell their luxury goods. So, we offer a white glove service to sellers, which means we take care of the whole process from valuation to getting the items in, authentication, getting the items online, and then for the buyers, it's very simple. It's kind of like building the Net-a-Porter experience, but for resale, because we've already done all this work on behalf of the sellers. Resale is quite a amazing trend nowadays, and we've always wondered that going through an economic crisis, what would happen to resale? Would it bloom because we're selling value, or would it shrink? Now, of course, I'd never wanted to put that to a test, rather just let it be a theory and never find out. But we had the chance to find out, and it was a double whammy. Was it not only was the beginning of an economic downturn, but also there was a lot of restrictions on movements of goods and people. Well, end result, what happened is, of course, everybody knows, like e-commerce penetration went up. Luxury e-commerce was being predicted that by 2025 it'll become 25%, and we saw that by the end of 2020 we were already at 20%. So we shrank. We kind of time warped to the future. And what happened to resale is even more exciting. We had, well, let's say 2018, there was 1 unicorn in the resale space, and 2021, there's 7 unicorns in the resale space. So it's also gone through quite a transformation. And I think one of the reasons is sustainability. I think it's becoming a more important factor in decision-making for customers. And thus they're opting for resale, which is just a lot more sustainable. You don't manufacture the goods, you just take from one wardrobe and get it to another wardrobe.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kunal, for your insight. Moving on to our second question, gentlemen. So today's consumer is digitally savvy, always on and incredibly demanding. What are your key considerations when engaging to this generation of shoppers online? Back to you, deVere.
Okay, thank you, Mona. I think the disruptive nature of COVID-19 has really changed customers' expectations, not just in the long run, but forever. Expectations that were forecasted for the future have suddenly become an immediate requirement, even more so due to the digitally savvy customers and the adoption of AI technologies by retailers. Now, first and foremost, the online shopping experience needs to be personalized and tailored to the customer. Gone are the days where it needs to be generic, or you're happy with a generic thing. Relevant product recommendations and offers drives high engagement and increases the dwell time by the customer, therefore driving what I term the stickiness factor of the online store. Customers that get great experiences first time round are a lot more likely to repeat visits on a daily or indeed a weekly basis. Secondly, you need to over delight your customers, especially those that are shopping online for the very first time And because we're in the pandemic, there are a lot of people now that are adopting e-commerce for the very first time. So you do need to really delight them. They want the same kind of experience, what I would term same instant gratification that they get when they purchase in store. So things such as same-day delivery or next-day delivery options are a must. Then finally, and this is quite an important point, particularly for omni-channel or multi-channel retailers, because there's a lot more multi-channel retailers around today than having adopted omni-channel, and that's having a great mobile app strategy that will drive strong engagement and high DAUs and MAUs. It's simply not just taking your online store and creating an app out of it. It's all about adding unique set of features that can only be used via an app, such as coupon redemption online and offline, mobile, built-in loyalty programs, things such as chat and shop, social commerce, so bringing the offline experience online, booking an appointment with a BA or a PC, or even building a mobile payment wallet to use for offline purchases.
Thank you, deVere. Moving on to Ori, what are your thoughts on what deVere has just told us, and what can you add to this question, please?
You know, first, I agree with the last thing that deVere was saying about the personalization. You know, when we launched our brand B 2.5 years ago, we investigated the Generation Y, and we've decided that this is going to be our targeted audience. Generation Y, you know, they're between 25 to 40 years old, mostly to women because we are a drugstore company. And we found out that the most important thing to this generation is transparency. You cannot fool them. You cannot do something online and then another thing offline. They want to do the truth. They want to know exactly what they're getting, and they want to purchase wherever they want. It's all about their time, not my time. And it's arrogant to think that I can educate my customer. So I think that this generation and the people that buy online, and in the pandemic, it went up by a lot of, tens of percent. And I remind you that the online shopping was even before the pandemic, right? We had Amazon, we had Google, we had everything before. Now, what happened last year, it went exponential. So we see, like Kunal said earlier, things that we thought going to happen in the next 5 years happened in 1 year. But I believe that if you are transparent with these customers, and if you are with the prices, you are fair with them, and you're giving them all the personalization that they're expecting, you need to be there for them wherever they want, in the app, the shop, online or offline.
Great, thank you, Ori. Kunal, moving on to you, would you agree with, I mean, the risk at the end of the day, both you and the customer? What are your thoughts on this question, please?
So look, I think this is all quite required, and it's very common and has been for a long period of time. I think what deVere and Ori have mentioned is how to build a great company and how to build a great brand. And I think this applies, online and offline. Like the personalization applies offline as well. It's not just online. I think supermarkets have been trying to personalize not for a n is equal to 1 set, but a larger set for a long period of time. So I think all of this is common. It's required. I would actually like to play the devil's advocate and something completely opposite. I would say that customers' expectations have perhaps gone down, and that's very important too. And the reason is, just imagine, like, let's go back pre-COVID. The expectations are, listen, I want payment options, I want COD. I'm not even sure I want to purchase with you. Even though I bought the product online, I'm still thinking about it. I may not be there when you bring it to my house. I may not show up. So, I mean, it's a how should I say, like a customer doesn't trust the medium. Expectations are very high. However, what we saw through the pandemic is that intent of the customer is really changing, but because perhaps the customer had no choice but to trust the medium. Now we've been like going out for like years and saying, listen, you have to trust us. We know what we're doing. Shop with us. This is better than shopping retail. But the adoption, like, depending on where you are, is not 100%. So I think the intent changed, and I think the customer expectations lowered. And when they shopped online, they realized that the bar is quite high and that we are over those expectations. So the next thing we should see is we should see stickiness. We should see those customers stick. So yeah, just to play the devil's advocate.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to our more specific questions. Going back to you, deVere, the headline benefits of with a known to enter the region are clear. Upfront investment is low and red tape is minimal. So what are you doing to develop more strategic relationships with new market entrants?
Good question, Mona. I think brands are increasingly widening their geographical coverage by expanding to new markets. And we at Dubai CommerCity are helping these brands by using our expertise, knowledge, and experience in this field. I'm building a team around me that are very well versed and experienced in e-commerce. Now, I didn't introduce myself at the start, but personally, I've been in e-commerce for over 20 years, working for some of the global leading retailers in the field, such as Best Buy and Dixons in consumer electricals, Central Retail Group in department stores, and here in the GCC region with Al Shaya and Al Futtaim, historically very strong in fashion and beauty. And during this time, I have taken their core retail businesses online and built capabilities in 5 key areas, including technology development, online trading and merchandising, logistics and order fulfillment, customer support, marketing and localization. Now, the city of online shopping, which is Dubai CommerCity, is built to support new entrants with these capability areas and others, including business setup and custom support, e-commerce strategy consulting, dedicated and multi-client warehousing, digital marketing support, and e-commerce business support services. These key support areas will become the foundation stone to form and develop strong strategic relationships with these new entrants. And in addition, I will personally be sitting down with each of our clients at Dubai CommerCity on a regular basis to support and advise on their growth plans for e-commerce business within the GCC region.
And which factors, especially pitfalls, should one pay attention to when building a regional e-commerce presence?
I think there are several factors to consider when developing a regional e-commerce presence. If you're just starting to build a regional presence, it's always best to work with providers who understand the market-specific challenges, can fill in for legal and technical aspects, and can provide extensive commercial and logistics infrastructure. For example, if you're selecting a base for your business in the region, you must consider ease of doing business. How advanced are the regulations and how friendly are the government policies? And when we are talking specifically e-commerce, how is the mobile internet speed, internet penetration, and the tax environment? Recently, the UAE has been ranked 13th out of 99 countries for the ease of starting up online businesses, which are one of the important considerations while you're choosing a regional base for your online business. Another important aspect is catering to local payment preferences. Now, this just came up in an earlier conversation. Your business may accept credit card payments. However, maybe the population in the specific country has different preferred payment methods. For example, COD or cash on delivery is a very, very important payment method in this region. Similarly, when it comes to digital payments, MADA is a dominant card-based payment in Saudi Arabia. Ability to offer what buyers consider as a safe and acceptable payment method in a specific geography is important to ensure reduced cart abandonment. Yet another challenge is dealing with product returns and refunds. I'm sure we all know on this webinar, it's not unusual to experience return levels of 30 to 40% in fashion. If the experience is not smooth for the customer, they may never ever return to your web store. Now, other important factors to consider are streamlining localization efforts, importance of social commerce in a given market, catering for cultural sensitivities, and ensuring omni-channel customer experience, among others. Now, looking at all these aspects in a holistic way will drive cost savings for your business and enhance customer satisfaction. Finally, at Dubai CommerCity, we have developed an approach working with our partners and government entities here in the UAE, promising to overcome these challenges for businesses who wish to establish their e-commerce footprint in the region.
great answers, deVere. Thank you so much. Moving on to Ori. Online sales account for 20% of Shufershal revenues, which is amazing, given that 12% of all Israel retail are made online. So what do you think you've been able to outperform from the market so drastically?
So as I mentioned earlier, Mona, the strategy was 5 or 10 years ago to build an e-commerce platform. And Shufershal has the largest loyalty club in Israel, more than 2 million households, and around 500 to 600,000 credit card owners. So these customers are basically the loyal customer of Shufershal. And the second thing is the efficiency. You know, in order to make money selling food online, you had to be very efficient because the cost of all the things is very high. I think what made the difference was before the pandemic, 2 years ago, Shufershal decided to lower the prices of the e-com platform and to make it equal to the prices in the discount shop of Shufershal. So the minute the customers realize they can get the same price and get it to their houses, delivered, get it on time, and if they have any problem, they can call the customer service and get a refund or get their delivery right away. It makes them a lot of comfort and a lot of, and they decided that they can believe in Shufershal services. We saw during the pandemic percent increase of the demand, and then we needed to make a decision. Are we going to open it for all of our customers, even the new customers, or are we going to keep the service only for our existing customers and give them the best service that they were used to? And we have decided to open it to all of the customers, and we actually gave a worse service to our existing customers, and they were used to get the highest service in Israel. But during the pandemic, because of the fact that we are the largest retail food chain in Israel, we believe that we need to give service to everybody. And it worked. And you know, the year after, and during the last year, we saw that it rise. And today we are delivering more than 120,000 deliveries every week of food.
Thank you, Ori. Moving on to the second question. Sorry, I think we had a slight technical. Has been able to start relaxing lockdown restrictions as its COVID-19 vaccination program. Can you give us any insights into how online shopping trends and behaviors have changed since restrictions have been lifted?
You know that actually we have just started now to go out a little bit and to go out of the lockdown. So basically the restaurants and the coffee shops were open just 2 days ago. School opened 2 days ago, and you know the sports and the hotels just recently. So even though that we have more than 5 million people in Israel that are already had their first vaccine, and we feel that we are on our way to beat the pandemic, to beat COVID, we don't see yet what happened. We don't know exactly what's going to be in the future. The only thing I can say is what I forecast and what I believe. I believe that the online sales will stay as high as they were in the pandemic, because I think that people, let's talk about my parents, for example, they're 70 years old. They never bought online before, especially not food. So basically they were buying online, you know, only flights and hotels and this kind of stuff. When they got used to buy food online or drugstore online, and they saw how easy it is, and they make their life easier, I believe that in the future, they will continue to do this, as well as going out, you know, to the malls and to offline shopping, because you still want to have the experience. And we are indeed believe that we need to give the experience. We have more than 100 shops in Israel. So we're going to give the experience in our shops as same as online, and we need to combine and to give the customer a very good omni-channel experience. I was talking to one of my colleagues. She runs a big restaurant chain in Israel, And she said that during the pandemic, they closed the restaurant, but the amount of deliveries that they made were equal to the restaurant with the full every evening. So now when they open the restaurants, the delivery won't get down to zero. So they're going to be 50% or something like this.
Challenging times ahead. Thank you very much, Ori. Last but not least, Kunal, I have a couple of questions for you. Circular fashion, which is a fascinating space. Your consumer base has very particular concerns. When you scaled your e-commerce operations, what were the factors you had to be most mindful of?
So just to give some perspective, so we're a two-sided marketplace where we handle the operations on behalf of both the sides. So we're a marketplace, which means buyers and sellers will come to this so-called market, and they will make a transaction. So it's not like a mall. It's like we actually do all of the service on behalf of the sellers. So it's really kind of like very easy one-step process, and we also do this on behalf of the buyer. Then on top of this, we operate, how should I say, like a model where we deal with 150, 200 brands and 20 years of back catalog. And third is that we operate a model where each SKU is individual. So even if two people they want to sell the same bag, they're actually individual units because they could differ by seller, they could differ by condition. Then we operate in buyers across 85 countries and sellers across 55 countries. That builds, I would say, that sums up to quite a logistical and technological problem to solve. So it took many, many years to kind of like get to perfect it. I believe like only in like end of 2019 were we in a place where we said, listen, let's hit the gas pedal because these operations work. So the first challenge was really like technological and logistical, I would say. Now, the second is, I would say, is customer adoption, because the customer needs to look at this proposition and like love it, and then they're not just making a choice, which is I will buy a pre-owned Louis Vuitton bag because it's cheaper, but they're actually making a lifestyle choice. This is where sustainability comes in, right? So it's a very important lifestyle choice. I believe that the way we're operating, the way the fashion industry operates, it's like the second largest polluter in the world, and just the whole value chain. It doesn't make sense to me, which is the reason I started this business. But the luxury value chain or the fashion value chain is, I'm going to design a product, then I'm going to show it on a fashion show. Then people will place orders. Then I will send it to factories. The factories will manufacture it, move it to warehouse, let's say in Europe. Then I will move it to warehouse in another country. If it doesn't sell, we'll discount it. Or for the luxury brands, we'll move it back to another warehouse, and whatever is left at the end of the day, we're going to just destroy it. That works for a while, but at the volumes that we're at, it doesn't work for the future. And that especially does not work for the customer of tomorrow.
Thank you, Kunal. And a last question for you. The Luxury Closet has recently secured seed funding and is way through an international expansion drive. As you take the business to the next level, how has your focus changed?
So small correction there. So we've raised about $1 billion to date across the last few years, and they've come from some of the known regional institutional investors like Middle East Venture Partners and Mohammed Capital, for example. And also, Mona was on the last chat. We're one of the portfolio companies of HBI, that's Huda Beauty Investments. Now this money is kind of raised over time, so the question is quite relevant. The focus obviously changes. I mean, like on day one, it is are there early adopters for my proposition? So you build something and you give it to early adopters, and then you see whether there's a small market. Do people adopt it? Once you see that people adopt it, then your kind of focus changes to, can this be scaled? So can I not just sell to my friends or the first people who really are in need of the service, but will it work across a much larger audience set? And that's the next test, right? So then you have to take that offering, you have to fine tune it, and you have to make it work for them. And then post that is market model scale, which is everyone should be able to do it, right? So we're kind of at everyone where it should be able to do it. We're kind of there because we're also like about 15 million users online a year. As I mentioned, like 50,000 products online. So actually, it's probably the third largest footfall in the whole of the Arab world for luxury customers, and it's also the most diverse catalog that you can find. So we want everyone to adopt this lifestyle. We want everyone to sell with us and shop with us. I think it's a great thing to do for yourself. I think it's a great thing to do for the environment, and it's super fun. You can look fantastic and you can look spectacular, and you can save the environment, and you can also manage your wallet.
Great. I couldn't agree more, Kunal. One more question for our prestigious speakers. What are the top priorities for each organization for the course? deVere, please.
Look, Mona, I've got so many, I don't know where to start. We're just getting Dubai CommerCity off the ground, and it fully launches in the coming weeks. I probably want to start by saying we've recently welcomed our first clients, big loyalty, and Hellman's Worldwide Logistics to our logistics cluster. There's many more clients to follow, and we're in the process of fitting out our offices in our state-of-the-art business cluster. And our first clients move in next month and in May. I need to recruit additional team members in our business development and sales account management team to entice and attract international, regional, and local brand retailers to the free zone. We need to work closely with the government entities to further streamline e-commerce operations out of Dubai CommerCity. We have to build partnerships with other IPAs, business councils, government agencies to help foreign businesses set up and run their e-commerce operations out of Dubai CommerCity free zone. And last but not least, build this ecosystem that I spoke about earlier to support a one-stop shop for everything e-commerce. So you can tell it's going to be a pretty busy time for the team and I over the next 12 months, but we are all really looking forward to it.
Imagine, likewise, excited to see what will happen with the Dubai CommerCity. Moving on to Ori, what are your top priorities over the course of the next months, please? So
our first priority is to make money. Actually, Shufersal bought the drugstore company that I'm running. Today we call it deVere. 2 years ago, and this company was losing money for 30 years. And in 2021, we're planning first year that we're going to actually make money after the last quarter that we were equal. And we are a growing company. So every year we're growing between 10 to 15%. We open between 10 to 15% more shops, e-com, etc. I believe that we will go again, in the world to look for new products or new brands. I heard before Huda Beauty, which is very interesting, and we are approached by people from Dubai actually, and from the Emirates, to do all kind of collaborations because of the fact that the Israeli market is open. So I believe that we can do many things together with the people that are watching us now. And I believe that the thing that happened to us this year will, hopefully that will be ended. It will give us strength to go and to change our growing strategy. And the last thing that I really, really hope to be in Dubai next year within 12 months and to talk to people, face to face. We now started in Israel starting to go out and to sit in coffee shops and to talk to people. And women are going, putting makeup again and in eyeliner. And we are returning a little bit to what we had before a year ago. So hopefully it's going to be the same as before, but better.
Fantastic. We'll wish you all the best. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Kunal, what are your priorities over the next 12 months?
Well, just remember we're a startup, so growth is extremely important for us, but more importantly, growth of all the people who could potentially sell with us. So we're expanding in Saudi, and we hope to launch soon relaunch soon in Qatar as well. So that's first. Second is we're very excited about the Dubai CommerCity. So deVere, I hope you can look forward to having us there soon. It is going to be quite a ramp up to our warehousing and logistics setup. So I look forward to that as well. And the third is I would say like technology. So we're doing some like really interesting things with our tech platform. We want to continuously improvise there, and the big opportunity there is data. So ramping up our data team. We're using more and more machine learning in more and more places, from pricing to displaying the right products to our customers. So it's exciting, and it's a very fast paced environment.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Since we have a few minutes left, we do have some questions from our audience members. Right, let me start with deVere. We have a couple of questions for you, actually.
I see.
So with everyone eyeing on e-commerce, what could be a few examples of competitive advantage in the GCC region, and in particular, the UAE market, to ensure a sustainable business model?
Look, I think, the great thing about the GCC region is e-commerce is in its infancy. E-commerce as a percentage of commerce is still mega low when we compare it against the US, UK, and Europe. A lot of retailers here, it's very low single digit in terms of their share of business. And the good news is that e-commerce is really coming alive in the pandemic. I came to the Middle East 10 years ago this month to work for Shaya. We launched e-commerce there, and it was a tiny little part of the business, but it's much bigger today. Same in Al Futtaim, but it's still very small, and it is exploding. E-commerce is completely exploding. And the good, from a point of view of a sustainable business model, if you compare the cost of doing business in e-commerce here to what I used to have to pay to run online in the UK with Dixon's Group, with Best Buy from the US, etc., it's dirt cheap. And the reason why it's really cheap is labor is cheap. So when it comes to warehousing, when it comes to last mile delivery, the costs are really low. And I'm now comparing this against obviously the UK and US. So it means that profitability of making, of delivering a return and profit can be a lot higher in the Middle East than it can be in the UK. And the competition, there's very little competition. Yes, we have Amazon, which acquired Souk. Yes, we've got Noon, which is growing very fast. We've got Namshi as a marketplace in fashion. But the competition is still very low. And I can't wait to have somebody like the Luxury Closet to really help push their business. They're getting in at a very early time. But then coming back to Dubai CommerCity, what we are doing is we're pre-negotiating rates with key 3PLs. We've obviously got a great relationship with Hellman that can offer multi-client warehousing. And these are all pre-negotiated rates, which means that they're going to get prices through us at a lot cheaper than trying to go directly to them, such as, for instance, DHL. Anybody that's listening to this that's not doing business in the UAE or in the GCC should be coming here. You're not too late. I in another webinar, I was saying that e-commerce will surpass $50 billion US in terms of sales revenue in 2022. That number was half that when initially we were looking at an e-commerce city called Dubai CommerCity back in 2015. So the rate of growth is huge. So the timing is perfect. So anybody, like I say, that's listening to this today, get on the phone to me, send me an email. We'll help you start up your business within the UAE and the GCC.
Well, thank you so much, deVere. Thank you to our speakers for joining us on this evening. Really have time. Thank you once again to our audience members, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully in person in next year's event, but enjoy the rest of our panel discussions. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mona.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All the best.